I'm being targeted by Twitter because I have a big following, because I'm a conservative, because I'm seen as supportive of President Trump. And when I say I'm being supportive of President Trump, the left translates, well, you have to be a Trump acolyte, as opposed to, well, I don't want our presidency, to be attacked by coosters, as I call them. I want the rule of law to prevail. One of the ways that Judicial Watch holds the government accountable is by educating people about what we find. I mean, we're an educational foundation, and if people don't know about what we're doing, it doesn't matter all the FOIA lawsuits and such. And of course, these days we have to use these big tech platforms to expose what's been going on. And so we have a significant presence on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And I'm on those platforms as well. And as you know, we've been skeptical, at least I've been skeptical of all the government shutdown, government ordered shutdowns of our nation in response to the coronavirus threat. And I've just been generally skeptical of mandates related to masks and mandates related to social distancing and closing schools and all of that. So there was this big study that came out that raised questions. It was a Fauci standard study that we're all supposed to think is the only way of figuring out whether something works or not. But anyway, they did the Fauci standard study. It was, some people had masks on, some people didn't have masks on, and you can go look it up. It's been well reported on, and now it's being spun on. It questioned the efficacy of masks in terms of protecting the wearer from coronavirus. So I did a tweet on that, and Twitter, after a day, told me that my account was frozen for 12 hours unless I took the tweet down, and then it would be opened up. But they also told me I could appeal the tweet. First of all, the tweet I said, and I don't want to repeat it now for fear of getting censored elsewhere, it was a perfectly accurate conclusion about the Danish study. There was nothing wrong about it. There was nothing unfair about it or misleading. It was accurate. And of course, I'm being targeted by Twitter because I have a big following, because I'm a conservative, because I'm seen as supportive of President Trump. And when I say I'm being supportive of President Trump, the left translates, well, you have to be a Trump acolyte, as opposed to, well, I don't want our presidency, to be attacked by coosters, as I call them. I want the rule of law to prevail. So therefore, I have a target on my back, and Judicial Watch has a target on its back by the left. And so I'm still not on Twitter. They said 12 hours, and they said, well, you can appeal. So I appealed. But by appealing, it tolls the clock, meaning I can't get back on. Now, if I end the appeal and delete the tweet, I can get back on, or so they say. But it's Twitter, so they act like petty little tyrants, so who knows? So if you want to read the tweet, you can go to, I posted it on Parler, Parler. I have an account there under Tom Fitton. But big tech is a threat to the First Amendment. And I don't need a lecture that private companies don't have to abide by the First Amendment, but they can't engage in fraud. And they can't tell you that you have the freedom to post, and they'll treat it fairly, and they won't target you, and they will make decisions fairly, when in fact, that's not the case. It's demonstrated that's not the case. They're target conservatives. And in the case of COVID, they are censoring medical information or critiques of government policies in ways never seen before. So in many ways, they're tools for government agencies. In the case of Twitter, they talk about WHO. So it's not even an agency that's technically accountable to the United States. We don't even give them money anymore. So I guess eventually I'm going to have to delete the tweet. I'm still ticked about it, as you might imagine, because I want to educate people. I'm not going to be bullied off these platforms, nor should you. And this is what I think everyone should do. I mean, first of all, we should acknowledge that Twitter and Facebook are not engaged in good faith moderation of its content. In fact, I was watching the hearing this week. They had a hearing earlier this week where Jack Dorsey, who runs Twitter, and Mark Zuckerberg, who is the owner of Facebook or runs Facebook, was questioned by members of the Senate Judiciary Committee and Senator Richard Blumenthal, I believe. And so the conservatives on the committee were talking about Twitter and Facebook dishonestly censoring conservatives. And the left on the committee said they weren't censoring conservatives enough. In fact, Richard Blumenthal said, will you commit to, and this is the phrase, robust content modification? Robust content modification. If that's not Orwellian, I don't know what is. And of course, both Dorsey and Zuckerberg committed to that. They're preventing, for instance, on Facebook, Judicial Watch from paying for its educational advertisements on that platform. Again, we're in the business of educating people about the things we uncover about the government. Facebook is getting in the way of that for political purposes. They're both labeling falsely as, quote, disputed election issues. I mean, for a while, they were saying official sources have said that Vice President Biden won. No official there's only one official source that can certify the vice president as victor in the presidency. You've got the states that certify that, and then the Electoral College meets, and that's certified, and then ultimately it's blessed by Congress. So no official sources have said Joe Biden has become president. The media has, but the Constitution doesn't let the media choose who's the president. So we have to stand fast. You know, it's unfortunate that, like, for instance, on Twitter, I can't say what I really believe about COVID. I don't think I can say it on Facebook either, and it's unlikely I can do it on YouTube. I've already been censored. Judicial Watch has been censored repeatedly. But we're going to keep on telling the truth. And like in any oppressive system, you've got to be careful about what you say and how you say it. Now, we're not going to obviously sell out in that regard, but it's a conundrum. Don't you agree? I mean, Twitter and Facebook, as far as I'm concerned, they're destroying themselves. They are destroying themselves. I mean, it may be a point where I can't be on Twitter anymore because I don't know what I can say without being smeared and labeled and censored. Same thing for Judicial Watch. Maybe we'll have to leave Twitter. Maybe we'll have to leave YouTube or Facebook. I don't know. But they're destroying their business models to appease the totalitarian left that wants to censor conservatives. And we're facing this period. It's been a remarkable 4 years in American history for a variety of reasons, and I can go on and on about it. But most recently and most troublingly, the last year I call the Great Suppression. You've had the Great Suppression of information about COVID. You've had the Great Suppression of information about voter fraud, about the coup cabal targeting President Trump. Remember, I can't say, I think on Twitter I could, but since this is going to be on YouTube and other platforms, I can't say the name of the so-called whistleblower that helped initiate the coup process against President Trump that resulted in impeachment. I still can't say his name, even though he's a top government official who worked in the White House, in 2 White Houses. Unbelievable. So we're now in the middle of the Great Suppression. And if you think it's going to ease up under a President Biden, certainly it's not going to ease up under President Trump because he's the target. Now, is Congress going to change the law to protect the rights of Americans in this regard? Or to hold the government of clarify the law to make it clear that the corrupt fraud they're engaged in and content moderation doesn't protect them from being held account for it by federal law, or federal law doesn't protect them from being held account for it? Or will lawsuits Judicial Watch sues a lot. Maybe we'll sue. I don't know. Get a court to come in and say, you can't do what you're doing. You're lying to consumers. You're lying to your customers when you say these terms of service are being fairly implemented and are reliable and aren't being changed on a whim depending on who you are or your politics. All sorts of laws prohibit that type of activity. Basic false advertising, laws against false advertising. So I don't want to go on too long about this. I'll probably be back on Twitter soon. Hopefully I don't say anything else that gets me banned permanently. But we're prepared. We're prepared.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.